Hi everybody, I'm Carol Gordon. I'm the project manager for BookNet Canada's CataList project. Thanks for joining me today to look at what CataList has been working on in the last year, what we are working on right now, and what we've got in store for the upcoming year. So I'm going to jump right into it. New this year, 2019 was a very busy one for the CataList team. We implemented a number of major additions and upgrades in the last year. So at TechForum 2019, we were in beta testing with a new initiative to collect and integrate display of sales assets like samples, excerpts, and guides. So in April, we rolled that out to the CataList live site with a focus on continuing to gather more material for display. Since that time, we've collected through direct upload, direct file uploads, and Onyx file submissions, a pretty significant amount of content for the titles that are listed in CataList. So that's including 62,000 excerpts, 28,000 tables of contents, 2,200 reading group guides, and 500 general sample files. So that's some pretty good numbers in that time, and we're continuing to encourage publishers to submit more content. Accessing those samples and excerpts, if you're looking for them, in CataList you can do that from a couple of places. So from the title detail page, obviously just below the cover image for the book. And you can also do it from scroll view in the content preview section. If we have sample or excerpt content, you will see the buttons to launch the reader there. If you are a retailer, librarian, and you're not seeing sample and excerpts where you expect to, do make sure that you're logged into the site, because logged in users have access to some of this supplemental content that's just not available to public site visitors. Following that initial release in the spring, we were approached about adding support in BiblioShare and CataList for another supplemental content piece, and that was teachers' guides. We reached out to our CataList participating publishers, and they were hugely supportive of this initiative. They responded by supplying about 1,000 teachers' guides in a really short timeline. So we did integrate those into CataList in the fall. So a shout out to the folks at Ampersand for that great idea, and Anik Press for providing our initial test files in a really quick, but the quickest way I've ever seen samples provided. It was great. For publishers, if you want to supply this information, how to do it. You're going to supply those into BiblioShare or CataList, and actually other supply chain data partners can pick those up. So Tim Middleton and I, project manager for the BiblioShare project, did a webinar on this topic in June, and the recording of that webinar is still available on the BookNet YouTube channel, and there's a link to it as well from the CataList user documentation. The next item that the CataList team worked on this year came as a bit of a surprise priority for us. So we meet with our user group twice a year, and someone in the user group brought us a request to make it easier to organize their seasonal and custom catalogs. Well, that request was met with resounding support from the whole group, and so we took on rebuilding the features in the Organize tool this year. So the new Organize catalog function gives you some additional abilities. Things like the ability to use multi-level sorting on your columns. There's a more visible click and drag function where you can grab the row handle on the left to click and drag titles into a new location. You can mark titles for removal. They'll actually stay there. You have the ability to restore it before you've saved your changes in case you've made an error. Makes it also really visible which titles you're deleting. And you also have the ability to send a title to any place in the catalog. So you can send a title to the beginning of a catalog, to the end of a catalog, or to any number in between, any specific location in the catalog. So that gives you a lot more flexibility about how to organize your titles and catalogs in a faster and easier way. But by far, the biggest project for CataList team this year, and the one that has been the top feature request for some time, requested by publishers, retailers, librarians alike, and that is our rebuild of the core search functionality. So this is in beta testing now, and we expect to have this out by the end of the month. That's March 2020. And it will be a fully rebuilt search and refined functionality to give users the flexibility to quickly and easily find titles and catalogs they need. So the first thing you'll actually notice about the new search is that you can quick search for more than just books on a keyword match. You can also search for catalogs or for a list of ISBNs. So depending on your search type, you'll either get catalog or book results. So in this case, we're looking at search results for a Dewey Diva catalog search. So we're getting back 23 catalogs in a list from the system. Catalogs will return with the most recent first, and you can filter your matches using the Refine tools in the left sidebar by catalog type. As shown in this slide, you can see you'll get both seasonal and custom catalogs returned, but you can filter on that option. You can refine by the company who's posted the catalog and by the catalog status. So for publishers, if you have custom catalogs that are shared to all users and are posted on your publisher page, those catalogs will also return in this search. So if you're doing themed catalogs or catalogs around your series, make sure you're posting them to your publisher page so they do get picked up in this search. For book results, whether you're searching for books matching your search terms or for a list of ISBNs, you'll get our book results page returned, and that'll have all title matches in the system. So we've updated the layout of Biblio content for each matching title in the main column. But the most noticeable difference for system users in this new search is the ability to apply an extensive set of filters to your results set. Unlike the previous version of this system, we no longer apply preset limiters to the results. So if titles are postponed or are canceled, they will still return in your search results. So you can see what the current status of that book is. And then you can decide whether you want to filter results by publishing status. So if you want to only look at forthcoming and available titles, you can simply select those from the filter options and remove out of stock or canceled or postponed titles from your results. And I think a lot of this filter functionality here is going to be intuitive and familiar to people, and I don't need to go into a lot of detail on each of those filters. But there are a few additions that I think are going to be especially helpful, and I wanted to kind of call those things out. Now I want to start with the cataloged by filters. So on the surface, this is a pretty straightforward filter, the ability to limit your results by which company has posted those titles. But what's powerful in this filter is that first option that you're seeing in the list, My Favorites. So if you've set favorite publishers, and you can do this easily from the homepage on CataList, simply go to the Favorites tab and you can set and reset or change your filters there, or your favorite publishers there at any time. With a single click, you can filter your results to show only titles belonging to your favorite publishers and imprints. So what this means is if you are a rep who sells only part of a major distributor's list, or a sales agent who sells a variety of publishers, or a niche retailer with a small set of preferred publishers that you work with on a regular basis, this gives you a quick and easy way to limit a large set of search results to just the titles that are relevant to your role in the business. The other two filters that I want to call attention to are related to regionality. So regionality is becoming of increasing interest and importance across the supply chain in Canada. And so we have two filters here. We have contributor location and geographical region. So first is contributor location, and I'm going to talk about data supply side in a little bit. But we know that retailers and libraries are always looking for local content to support, local authors to promote. So most publishers in the supply chain already support the CA country code for Canadian contributors. It's a bibliographic metadata flag on the contributor composite that simply lets people know that that contributor has a Canadian nationality. But where we have additional contributor location data, we now allow users to drill down further into province and location levels. So on the subject and book location side, book setting, I guess you could say, we also allow filtering by the geographical region. So if you're looking for local interest titles or books that are set in a specific area, you can give this filter option a try. The last filter that I wanted to call out is the available content. So this is where you can see which titles in your search results have any of that wonderful content that we integrated last year, like samples, excerpts, and guides. So some of that content may be useful for getting a sense of what's in a forthcoming title, if you're looking to place an initial order or recommend a title for Lone Stars. Others are useful for supporting reading initiatives, teachers, or possibly parents who may be looking for educational content. So in terms of reading group guides, which I showed checked off here, this is a space where publishers might want to consider creating and sharing more content. I can call out a stat from our consumer research that indicated that the percentage of Canadian book buyers who belong to a book club or reading group jumped from 7% in 2018 to 14% in 2019. So that's a pretty significant jump. That actually led to a whole more detailed study of book clubs in Canada. And if you're interested in getting more data about who these readers are, who's forming book clubs, where they're finding their books, and all of that additional content, you can read a sample and get the full study at booknet.ca/reading-together. So we think these new tools are going to be really useful for promoting Canadian books, Canadian authors, but everything that the search tools can do is based on publisher data we receive. So the tools can only be as good as that data. We are indexing keywords in the new search. So at BookNet, we have been encouraging use of keywords for some time, and we are starting to index and display keywords in CataList now. So in terms of keywords, the focus is shifting now away from just encouraging publishers to provide them, but rather to encourage publishers to think critically about whether those keywords are really useful, if they're adding value for search. So we're seeing things like adding the keywords Harry Potter to every middle grade fantasy novel. It's not really useful and what it really does is encourages people to just exclude keywords entirely from their search parameters. Tom Richardson's going to cover this topic and data quality in general. He's got a data quality presentation. I highly recommend checking that presentation out. It's going to cover a number of quality issues that can affect search, not only in CataList, but also on retailer sites and elsewhere. Likewise, our wonderful contributor and geographical location filters are only really useful when we have the data points that are provided that the system can use to filter on. So with all the excitement around that, this is really something that you want to consider looking into getting in your data. If you want your titles to be found when retailers and libraries, media users are applying the filters, you need the data in the ONIX files. So contributor location, this can be supported at some level in both ONIX 3.0 and ONIX 2.1. Most publishers support the country code for Canadian authors, but very few support the regional level, which carries the province information. ONIX 2.1 does support the region level codes. So if you're stuck with ONIX 2.1 for the moment, there is an option to provide that province level in the data format that's available to you. Most publishers, though, now are underway with their ONIX 3.0 transition, and this is where there's full support for the contributor location data. So you can provide a code with each location to indicate whether it's the author's birthplace or current residence, and you can optionally provide details for province and right down to the town or city name. So with a growing adoption of ONIX 3.0 in the supply chain, we expect to see a significant increase in the amount of contributor location data that we have available to us very soon, probably by the summer. So if it's not something that you have been considering, it's something that you might want to look at now. With regards to geographical filters, CataList pulls in and filters on two subject schemes, BISAC regional themes and thema geographical qualifiers. In terms of recommending one over the other, if you're looking at the best one to use and you're just starting out with adding region codes, you can easily add the BISAC regional list, but their support for Canadian regions only consists of about 23 codes for Canada. On the other hand, the thema geographical qualifiers there's about 180 Canadian codes. So the thema codes are far and away the more granular, more descriptive codes, but they don't really stand alone. it's part and parcel of implementing FEMA as a whole standard for subject codes. So if you haven't considered starting to support FEMA as a subject code standard, I would at least recommend getting familiar with this standard, seeing how it can support your business needs, especially if you're publishing regionally focused titles. And we're pretty well out of time, so I'm going to move on quickly. As I'm sure you know, if you've been following CataList for any amount of time, we don't sit still for long on this CataList team. So while we're getting all that fun new search functionality rolled out the door, we've also been looking ahead at what's on the roadmap. So we have been out talking to reps and retailers about the catalog scroll view, finding out more about what they like about it, what's missing, what needs improvement. We've gathered up some of those great ideas, and those have been that were passed along to us. And we're looking at new layouts, new workflows. And so that's a key item in our upcoming plans.
But we have another big project now on the radar as well. We're currently in talks with BTLF in Quebec about a system integration for French and English data using the CataList platform. There's still a lot of details to be finalized on this. In many ways, the discussions are still pretty exploratory, but we know that the work would also tick off some items that are at the top of the list for our library, sales rep, and retailer users, including some additional advanced search functionality that would be built on top of the upgraded new search engine, multi-cart functions, and improvements to the order sharing and submission process.
So all in all, despite the very unusual start to this year, we're really excited about the plans for the year ahead with CataList and hope that we can equip reps and buyers to keep the communication about forthcoming books flowing even in challenging times. So as always, if you have questions about any of the things that I've talked about today, past or future, feel free to get in touch with me, cgordon@booknetcanada.ca, or anyone on our team at our main support address, CataList@booknetcanada.ca. Thank you.